It's never too early to look back at the quarterbacks who were taken 2 years ago and talk about it. That's what we're going to do right now. And Drake Maye leads the charge here on Locked On NFL.
The barbershop is open and Tony Wiggins has a chair for you. He's ready with some real NFL talk. The local experts of Locked On bring their expertise, and Wiggy is ready with his clippers and shears. Sit down and enjoy. The new Locked On NFL starts now. Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
It is your team every day here on Locked On NFL. We thank you for making us your first listen. I'm Tony Wiggins, and he is my partner in crime on Fridays. That is Matt Williamson from the Peacock and Williamson podcast. And we're here to use clips from the local experts to navigate you around the National Football League here in the barbershop. We do it every single day here on Locked On NFL. And we like to keep our finger on the pulse of these teams. And the way that we do it is by using the local experts across our network. I want to let you know that we are wherever you get your podcast. Make sure you tap into that location and you do not miss an episode, whether you watch or listen. An episode like the one today that is brought to you by Mazda. Like our players, we sweat every detail because when you make every move count, pulling off the unexpected is only the beginning. Stay tuned later for highlights in this week's Moving the Game Forward. Mazda, move and be moved. I'm about to move on and tell you exactly what we're going to do today. We're going to whip around and pick them in segment 3, as we always do. In the middle of the show, we'll talk about how Caleb Williams has found his groove in a little bit of a different way than we may have anticipated. But at the top, as I mentioned, we are going to discuss Drake Maye. Now, I also want to remind you, over on Amazon Music, ad-free, man. You can check us out over on Amazon Music. Please make sure you go over and tap into that. Drake Maye right now might be the best or in the best spot of all the second-year quarterbacks. There's this thing I told Matt about before. Matt, what's up, man? I told everybody that, you know, people always say you can't draft a quarterback until you get him an offensive line or some weapons. He's going to get killed. Well, the Patriots drafted a quarterback when they had a terrible offensive line, and guess what? In year 2, he's not getting killed. In fact, he looks like he's ready to start killing the NFL.
1,000%. And I'm more in the camp of building the nest. I always call that, like, you know, the Steelers have been looking for a quarterback forever. I'm like, well, they're building the nest right now. They'll pounce soon. You know, they've been drafting tackles. And like, had a nice soft landing spot for the baby bird egg so it doesn't crack and blow up all over the place. Usually that's the approach is if I in a perfect world. But to steal something you said before we hit record, if the quarterback's there at your pick or you're in striking distance and you think that's the dude, you never, ever, ever turn away from that. I mean, never, ever.
No, you don't.
And to me, what Maye overcame last year makes me like him more. I mean, he flourished or did well despite having a terrible circumstance. And then you bump it up a little bit and he gains a little more experience, a little bit better coaching staff. And now he's playing like one of the best quarterbacks in the league. Yep.
And my answer has always been this. You don't have to play him. If you know your line stinks, go get a journeyman or something. And just stand him, put him in the system, get him in the building, do the reps in practice. Get him some time. If you can get enough stopgap people to kind of gel it together a little bit, nobody says you have to play him. You just, but see, what you can't control is worrying about whether he's going to be there next year. If you pick an offensive lineman, okay, now you're not picking in the top 5, you're like 6 now because you overachieve and you miss that guy. He's playing well. Here's my man Nick Cattles to talk about Drake Maye.
He is the first quarterback in the history of the game that has ended 5 games with an 80-plus completion percentage in his first 2 career seasons. I mean, these are just astounding numbers. And it's not just his ability as a passer. It's his ability to run with the football. The dual threat ability is real. And Drake Maye this year is attacking defenses as good as any quarterback in the league when it comes to running with the football. Drake Maye ranks 5th in rushing yards among quarterbacks, 3rd in rushing first downs among quarterbacks.
Man, Vrabel has done such a good job with him. And that was a tough spot to go to because you're always going to be compared to the GOAT, Tom Brady. But this looks really, really good so far after, 1.5 seasons.
1,000%. And I'll be honest, I loved him coming out of school. I saw,
and I didn't, so I'll admit that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm all on board. I was super impressed with them last year. I'm even more impressed this year. Now, I think it's really interesting when we talk about these 5 guys. I know we didn't include McCarthy and last night. I mean, maybe they're saving him because you put him behind that line would have been a disaster.
Yeah.
I do think that the perception 7 weeks into their second season has changed these guys' opinions so much more than, an off season where nothing ever changes and we think we know these guys. We do this for a living, so we have to talk all off season. It's like, oh, we know exactly what these first year guys are. No, you don't. I mean, including Daniels, who was great in his first year. But I do think there are obvious weaknesses with all of them. The only one I have with Maye right now, though, is he's just too quick to run. And he might be coached to do that. They mentioned, boy, he's a really effective and dangerous runner. He is, but I'd like to see him go through his reads a little bit more too. And that's probably coming.
Yeah. And here's an example where running gets you in trouble. The reigning rookie of the year.
Yes.
The reigning guy, the guy that everybody put in their top 6, top 7. And he probably still is, but maybe they need to save him from himself a little bit or just improve their offensive line. Here's the guys from the squad show up in Washington talking about Jalen Daniels and his absence.
No. The next 2 weeks are really an evaluation for this team because we're sitting here talking about moves they can make, how they can fix this defensive line or how they can add some depth at linebacker, whatever the case is. Dorrance Armstrong going down and what you're going to do. You're now down to 2 weeks before you can make any moves other than picking up guys off the free agent market or whatever the case is after that November 4th trade deadline. So I'll tell you this right now, David, I think we are going to watch some serious evaluation over the next couple of weeks. And it's not just from how guys perform on the field, which obviously is massive, but I think it also does matter in terms of body language and attitude and how guys are in the locker room and whether they've already given up on this season or they look at this and say, I've got something that's still left to prove. They're going to want the guys that have that mindset in this locker room the rest of the way and moving forward, because this is now going to become maybe full rebuild mindset if they lose the next 2 games, thinking about next year, which already would have been the mindset had they only won, 4 or 5 games last year anyway. So we're really going to see that evaluation, I think, David, over the next couple of weeks.
I think this is one of the reasons you have to watch out too when you anoint teams. A team that is supposed to win the Super Bowl, most teams, if they lose their starter, they're not going to do that. But you don't go from being a Super Bowl contender to having weeks without your starting quarterback and talk about a rebuild if you're a Super Bowl team.
Yeah, I didn't like the word rebuild there at all.
Mm-hmm.
But they are a very old team besides the quarterback. Now, I think they're paying for some of their offseason sins. And I'll be honest, I was critical at the time that I felt like they thought they could run before they could walk. They weren't a Debo, Tunsil, bring back Ertz, Wagner, all these old dudes away from really contending. I need a little bit slower build here. And those guys were just talking about, well, maybe they can go get somebody at the trade deadline. Like, I don't know if the answer is just throwing future picks at, Reynolds. Let's be a little more patient here. Daniels isn't going anywhere. Let's do our best to keep him healthy and build this thing the right way for the long term.
They made moves that you would expect Buffalo or Baltimore to make.
Yeah.
They weren't there yet. And that's what they decided to do. We'll have to wait and see if it actually cost them long term. But obviously, Jayden Daniels is what makes that team go. It did not help that Sam Cosmi was injured at the end of last season. And I don't think that, he's where they want him to be. Of course, not yet. Mm-hmm. I don't think he's even played. But the thing is they got to get better on defense. They got to figure out some of those highly paid guys that they're working. Daron Payne and all these dudes, they got a lot of dudes making a lot of money that aren't making a tremendous impact on that team. We're going to get to Caleb Williams and tell you why he's having some success, maybe not statistically, but stylistically. I think the rub on him and what he's been able to do this season is taking away a little bit of the narratives about him and what kind of player he's going to be. We'll discuss that in segment 2 here on Locked On NFL. All right, today's show is sponsored and brought to you by our friends over at FanDuel. The NFL season is here, and FanDuel has an offer you don't want to miss. Right now, new customers can bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win. That's right. Pick a bet, put down $5, and if it hits, you'll unlock $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Now, I know my man Saquon Barkley hasn't been running the ball the way that everybody thinks, but you can't ever count out the Eagles because they're so talented. At any moment they can blow out somebody. So watch out for thinking that these trends are going to continue. And FanDuel gives you all of the pregame information you'll need to make sure that you can win you some money. So what are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com to download the FanDuel app today and get yourself started. Today's show is also sponsored and brought to you by Rippling. If you're a business owner, here's the truth. SaaS promised to make work easier, but now the average company is buried by hundreds of apps that slow down your teams and don't work together. That's not SaaS, that's sad. Software as a disservice. That's why you need Rippling. Rippling is the unified platform for global HR, payroll, IT, and finance all in one place. They've helped millions of businesses replace a mess of disconnected tools with systems designed to give leaders clarity, speed, and control. By uniting your employees, teams, and departments in one system, Rippling provides and removes the bottlenecks, busy work, and silos your software has created. And right now, you can get 6 months free when you go to rippling.com/lockedonnfl. Learn more at rippling.com/lockedonnfl. That's rippling.com/lockedonnfl for 6 months free. Terms and conditions apply. All right, let's get to talking about the number one pick from last year's 2024's NFL draft, Caleb Williams. So much talk about his personality and all of these things and whether he was aloof and didn't ingratiate himself with his teammates. That stuff can come up even worse when there's a coaching malpractice, if you will, as the Bears had under Matt Eberflus last year. Changed all of that in the offseason when they went and got Ben Johnson, and people wondered how it would mesh. Ben Johnson has this tough mantra and this approach. Well, a couple of weeks ago, Lauren Cox from Locked On Bears predicted something about Caleb Williams, and I think it's come true. Listen to him here, Matt.
There's an expectation that the Caleb Williams we get over the remaining 13 games of the season will probably, most of the time, be better than the Caleb Williams we saw for the first 4 games of the season. Like, he is supposed to be continually progressing. It doesn't mean every game is better than the last game, but, 2 steps forward, 1 step back, 2 steps forward, 1 step back, kind of in this upward trajectory is where we think this season is going to go.
I think Caleb Williams is learning the importance of a running game, and he is learning the importance of a slot receiver by the name of Luther Burden. And I really do believe he's starting to personify the toughness that Ben Johnson wants for the Chicago Bears.
Couldn't agree more. And as Lauren said, it was a rough start, and we should expect that. There's a lot of moving parts here. There's 2 rookies, there's new guys, there's new linemen, there's a new coach, a new basically a new quarterback. And it is really starting to take shape. They're taking the ball away. They're running the ball. It's not Montgomery and Gibbs, but it looks like a decent 2-headed backfield that just comes at you and at you and at you. And I still have real issues with Caleb's accuracy. I mean, he misses a lot of throws right now, but that's not killing him anymore because they're asking less of him and just bring it along slowly. And he nailed it. If you can give me 2 steps forward, 1 step back over the course of the year, we'll end up in a good place,
It's something I've been trying to say about Trevor Lawrence. When you draft a kid, and this goes back to not having to play a kid early. Now, Trevor had to play, obviously. When you pick number 1 with those expectations, there's some things you have to actually learn with 10 toes on the ground. But the thing is you got to teach these quarterbacks and unteach them some things that they had to learn, things that they were able to do in high school and even to some degree in college. And that is, you ain't got to be Superman all game, dog. Right, you just need to be Superman a little bit every now and then. You got to just be Clark Kent. Just be even-keeled and trust your system and trust the people around you. And I think there's more room for him to trust Ben Johnson because of Joe Thuney and Dahlman and the guys that he has in front of him, as opposed to trusting Eberflus, who just looked like he had no clue to what he was doing over there, and Shane Waldron and everybody else. So, yeah, I do think the structure of the coaching staff has really helped him. And I got to give him credit for actually accepting that. Something else that we've been able to accept is that the Atlanta Falcons at running back, tight end, and wide receiver are absolutely loaded. Now that you're getting Kyle Pitts playing better, Drake London has always been good. Bijan Robinson might be the MVP, and he's the best running back in the league. Sooner or later, people are going to start looking at Michael Penix sideways, and now we might speed up his clock a little bit. And a lot of that has to do with the fact that people are giving those skill position players the credit that they deserve. Here's Aaron Freeman from Locked On Falcons.
On the outside, it's time to give Kyle Pitts some flowers on this podcast, right? He was the best player on the Falcons offense in this 49ers game. He was the one guy that was consistently able to beat man coverage. And so most of the time, when the few times the Falcons did have success against the 49ers man coverage, it was most often when they were throwing to Kyle Pitts. And I feel like this is one of the best games that he's played in his Falcon career.
You want to talk about a nest? That kid came into the league with all of the cushion in that nest, at least in terms of skill position players. So there might be a little bit more of a short leash or impatience when it comes to him. Give me your opinion. Should that be the case, or should we still expect him to do things that a young quarterback does?
I like the word you use there, impatience, and as opposed to, man, this guy's a bust or blah, blah, blah. Impatience with young quarterbacks, I think, is just a mistake, period. I mean, this is a hard position. People don't get it quickly. I am concerned with two things with Penix, and he's another one. I think his accuracy, he misses way too many layups. And I know he ran a fast 40, but he doesn't play athletic, like Caleb or Maye or some of these guys. But let's be patient a little bit here. I mean, we're not that far along in the process. He wasn't even a 17-game starter last year. I mean, he hasn't played that much football.
Yeah, I think you do have to be a little bit patient with them now that they're opening things up. But you know how it is, man. Like you said, we give up on people so fast, it's not funny. And that leads to me, because I gave up on Bo Nix before he ever even got to Denver. And then Bo Nix did what Bo Nix did, and Denver is now looking like a playoff team, but they're winning with a lot of defense. It kind of disappeared for them a little bit against the Vikings. Then the offense, the Giants, and then the offense woke up in the third quarter. So now people are saying, well, the coach, Sean Payton, is this offensive genius, so maybe they're missing something on offense. And, well, the guys from Locked On Broncos will tell you whether or not they think the shortcomings on offense are Bo Nix's fault or not.
Bo Nix looked dialed in from the very beginning of this game, even without really much support in terms of the run game behind him. It felt like Bo was just locked in, and it felt like he was building off that fourth quarter. Really just a lot of nice throws, good flow to the offense. He was converting on third downs.
It's going to be an enigma for me for a while. That's why I keep apologizing. But as long as they keep winning, ain't nobody going to care whether or not Bo Nix statistically is really good. But can he be the dude to eventually lead them to where they want to go? That's the biggest question.
I still think that's up in the air. I mean, I'm less enamored with his ceiling of any of these guys we talked about. Like if we're talking the Burrow, Allen, Lamar tier, I really got to squint pretty hard for Bo Nix to ever get there, But if we're talking Kirk Cousins or the 10th best quarterback in the league tier, yeah. And I don't love the weaponry and nest around him, except for the O-line and the defense. But I would like one more playmaker in the group. He's a little freakier than I thought too.
Yeah, and you know what? It's going to be sacrilegious when I mention the dude that he actually needs to maybe not play like, but when you think of how he can be successful, you're talking about a great defense. You're talking about being schematically dialed in with the coach. Russell Wilson. Now, I ain't supposed to mention Russell Wilson when talking about the Broncos, but what I want to mention is Russell Wilson with Seattle with the Legion of Boom, and then him here with Sean Payton with that defense and that altitude. They should actually have a serious advantage. Vance Joseph, by the way, is a great defensive coordinator.
Yeah,
they should really have an advantage at home, 8 or 9 games a year. And then with their gritty style, man, they can go on the road and win. This is all going to be about Sean Payton and about Bo Nix, making sure Bo Nix knows who Bo Nix is.
Totally nailed it. I'm glad you threw out Joseph. I really hope he gets interviews this offseason. What more does that guy have to do?
Yeah.
But I like that. I like that approach. I mean, early career Russell Wilson. Sure. I mean, they won a Super Bowl with Lynch.
Yeah. You're supposed to be mentioning Russell Wilson and John Payton in the same
sentence.
These dudes, they might as well just fight. Just get it over with. Just stop all this cat fighting and scratching like y'all on social media, man. I saw these 2 dogs on social media. This gate was in between them, and they were showing their teeth. Somebody moved the gate back, and then they started just going, "Hey, what's up, dude?" Just let them go ahead and fight it out, man. All right, we're going to fight through some predictions here in segment 3. I'm terrible at it. Matt is better at it. We'll do our whip around and pick them here. Locked On NFL on a Friday in just a second. All right, today's show is sponsored and brought to you by Mazda. This episode is for those who believe it's not just about playing the game, it's about redefining it. There are moments that do more than put points on the board. They move crowds, move culture, and keep moving the game forward. If y'all didn't see Brian Burns last week in a game full of defensive players, Brian Burns is the real deal. Brian Burns, they drafted another pass rusher. They drafted 2 pass rushers with top 5 picks. Brian Burns might be the player of the year in the NFC right now on defense if the Giants can win some games, because he is just like Mazda. He makes things move. And when you follow what moves you, the unexpected is only the beginning. And just like there's more to every highlight, there's more to a Mazda vehicle. Mazda, make sure you move and be moved, man. They got everything that you want. The crossovers are absolutely great. Mazda is the way right now. Those cars remind me of top-tier athletes. They make things happen and they make things move. All right, let's get to it. Matt, game last night did not surprise me whatsoever. The Vikings Carson Wentz looked like he's probably ready to retire somewhere. They left him over there like he was Joe Flacco in a restaurant. Over there by himself on the bench is a little bit sad to me, but the Chargers beat the Vikings. Let's go through some of these games. We just mentioned Michael Penix. What about Tua Tagovailoa going into Atlanta?
Oh, I think they're in trouble. I'm kind of still shocked they're employed at the moment in Miami. Atlanta's a little uneven, but I think Atlanta wins this game at home.
Yeah, they got a chance to get to 4-3 and keep themselves in that wild card hunt, because nobody seems like they want to separate themselves in the NFC so far, maybe except the Bears and the Packers. Speaking of the Bears, they go to Baltimore. I think Lamar's going to play. At least he came back to practice. What kind of game is this going to be?
I don't know. I don't know what to think of the Ravens. I mean, and we talked about the Bears earlier. They're trending the right direction. I'm going to say the Ravens squeak one out, but I bet this is a really close competitive game.
I bet it is too. It's going to be hard because the Bears can run and the Ravens can't stop it. The Bills go. The Bills have to travel to Buffalo South. Julian Council going to get mad at me about that one, but they go to Carolina, go to Charlotte to play those upstart Panthers without their starter though.
Yeah, and they might be better off with Dalton, but I don't know if they're better off enough to beat the Bills.
Okay, Aaron Glenn and the Jets. Believe it or not, there is a team that has a worse record than the Miami Dolphins. Doesn't feel like it, but Aaron Glenn and the Jets are a hot mess, and they go to a hot Bengals team.
I'm not sold on the Bengals defense, but I still think this is a layup for Flacco against a really reeling Jets team. Although the Jets D's been a little better lately, but I like the Bengals here.
I thought the injured reserve roster combined with wins last year for Detroit was something special. The 49ers are a mass unit right now, and they're 5-2. Every time I say you need to call San Francisco and get somebody off their team, they win a game. They're 5-2, and they visit the Houston Texans, who are still struggling.
I just trust this coaching staff top to bottom in San Francisco 1,000 times more than Houston's. I'm definitely taking the Niners in this game.
No doubt. The Browns visit the hot Patriots and that quarterback, Drake Maye, that we discussed.
Yeah, and that defense could give Maye troubles, but I still think the Patriots at home win this football game. Yeah.
Yep. Just like Yale and Harvard, when they play football, some games you look at on paper and you don't want to see. I'm going to tell you right now, the Giants and the Eagles going to be a fun game. It always is, man. This is what it is. The Giants go to Philly, though.
Yeah, I don't know what the spread is in this game. I'm sure it's a touchdown or something like that, but I would definitely take the points. I think the Giants keep this thing close. I'm going to take the Eagles to win, but I think the Giants keep this thing close.
The Buccaneers have played a tough schedule. They got a much needed, I wouldn't necessarily call it break because the Saints do play hard, but they go to New Orleans.
Yeah, I think this is another close divisional rivalry game, and Tampa's a little banged up, but I like Baker to pull one out on the road.
Yeah, you remember it was like in the offseason, people had this thing, could 100 men beat one silverback gorilla, right? It was like, it's like just trying to take these two forces that do things differently and put them in a game. Well, that is manifesting itself in Denver. We just talked about it, where the Denver Broncos, that is led by toughness and defense, will play the Dallas Cowboys with a wide open offense that looks like they could score 40 on the 85 Bears. Who you got?
Yeah, they're so different. I mean, Denver games always seem like they're going to be, I know there has been some high scoring ones in that crazy fourth quarter, but yeah, I just think defense with Denver and close to the vest. For Dallas, I look at like shootout central, and I'm taking the Cowboys. I think Dak Prescott's playing really, really well.
Here we go. Here we go. That's a game that I can't wait to see. Another late game that a bunch of people don't want to see. This is the one that I can guarantee you're going to see somebody get a lashing. I used to watch Game of Thrones. I knew somebody's going to die on Game of Thrones every single week, right? Yeah. Well, I'm going to tell you right now, you better hide your wife and hide your kids if your Colts and the Titans come on your TV screen. I know what you got, man.
Yeah, I'm taking the Colts. But
yeah, see how quick that was? Yeah, I'm taking the Colts. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
All right. A game that you will be obviously in attendance, you and my man Chris Carter. A big Sunday night matchup. It is nostalgic. It's not in Lambeau. It is in Pittsburgh, but the Packers come in to play the Steelers.
I think the Green Bay Packers are the better team, and rarely do I try to pick with my heart, but I think the Rodgers factor, the long week of rest, Tomlin's great with extra rest. At home on a night game, Tomlin's great in that situation. And frankly, the Steelers defense got embarrassed last week. I think Cam Hayward, TJ Watt, Jalen Ramsey aren't going to stand for that. I think the Steelers squeak one out here.
I do too, because offensively, even though I guess they're supposed to be good offensively, they just look like they're all over the place sometimes, man. It's like they're a team that gets a lot of yards, but then just for some reason you look up and they got 27 points in the fourth quarter. They ain't like Dallas, right? All right, and Monday night, this one might get crazy. Rashee Rice is back, and he came out and scored 2 touchdowns right away. The Chiefs host those banged-up Commanders.
Yeah, I think the Chiefs are making a pretty strong case for being the best team in the league right now, and we're not going to see Daniels, I don't think. I definitely like Kansas City at home.
Yep, I like Kansas City too. You know what else I like? This show. And I like the fact that it comes on twice a day. Tyler rolling early in the morning like a double shot of espresso. And then we come right through here, sliding through here in the barbershop. It's always Friday with Matt Williamson, and you can catch us each and every day. Tyler rolling will have all the action from this weekend early Monday morning. Make sure you tune in to Locked On NFL wherever you get your podcast. Matt and I made short work of this thing today, man. Yeah, we got about 27 and a half minutes of whipping you around the National Football League, but don't mean we don't care. It just means we know y'all got things to do. We appreciate y'all. We don't take you for granted. Get on out of here and go enjoy the weekend of NFL action. We'll see you on Locked On NFL.